Hi Melinda, how you doing? Let's talk about your work. I've got your written rationale up. I couldn't get my monogram design traced the way I wanted to look, so I went back to Sketch with two more different monogram designs. I use my smartphone to take pictures of the sketches, and what this sounds like a pretty good workflow to work around the problems that you've been having. But I would recommend trying to work your issues out right in Illustrator, because that would be the tool of choice in the industry standard, so to speak. So instead of trying to jump over into different softwares and different mediums, I would recommend that you try to work all your issues out right in Illustrator. So you see, you talk about the paintbrush to create monogram style for the letters, and what I would suggest is this. You want to show caring and support. And I get that. And I think that the typeface that you've chosen now, in this particular example, the only thing you have to work with is the typeface to show caring and support, because we don't have that encoded word that we've been working with. So you don't have the luxury, so to speak, of encoding a word into the, a word from your word list into the encoded meaning for the client's monogram. So basically what you have is just this kind of overall perception of the client and their mission statement and their mission. And then we can kind of transpose that into meaning by creating meaning using a typeface that would encode their mission as opposed to encoding a specific word from our word list. Hope that makes sense. So I think what you've done here is good. I mean, it's an interesting solution. I think one of the issues that I'm having here is that, well, let's talk about this first. Your second iteration here, this isn't working. The colors are just really, really fighting with each other. And the drop shadow is so strong that it's kind of taking away from what we have here. Let me show you what I mean. If we back down, we can see that right now it's almost illegible. And the reason for that is the fact that the colors are fighting and the drop shadow is kind of fighting with the letters. So you got a lot of internal competition going on in here. So for that reason, let's just put that aside right now. And let's concentrate on what we have right over here. Now this, I think, is interesting. I really think it's interesting. The one thing that I see that's going on here, though, is that you've got grouping by color. And inherently in visual communication, anytime you differentiate items by color, it's an assumption that those two colors belong together in a sort of subgroup, which is counterintuitive in this case because you have Mason with wellness and George with center. So the eye immediately perceives a relationship between these two letters and these two letters, as opposed to these two letters and these two letters. Okay, I hope that makes sense. And again, over here, I think that the drop shadow, I think, is a mistake. I think it is. I think it's just, at small sizes, it just interferes with the legibility and the readability of the typeface. So I would recommend staying away from drop shadows in monograms. The typeface itself I think it's okay, and I think the all caps is okay as well. So what I've done here is I've just rearranged this quickly, and I want you to take a look at how I've rearranged it. Now this is a, let me see. Okay, hang on one second. That's what I want to get right there. This is a typeface called Gabriola, and this is the typeface. This is the same typeface that you've used over here. I basically just opened your file in Illustrator and rearranged some things. And I think that right now we're still maintaining the simplicity that you've talked about in your written rationale, the simplicity, showing caring and support. And I think we've maintained that here. However, all I've done here is assembled the letters a little bit differently, creating relationships between George and the G&M, the George Mason, the WC Wellness Center. And I've kind of separated the two to draw a distinction between the fact that George Mason belongs together, Wellness Center belongs together. Okay. Now you could feasibly put these together, and you could feasibly do this. Whoops. And that would work just fine. That would work just fine. I think that one of the things that I tried to do, see that, so we have that. So I tried to kind of maintain this kind of structured, kind of built building on the last letter kind of motif you have here. So what I've done here is all I've done is just reassembled the letters, and I've just created a background, and I offset the background, change the color. That's it. So, you know, in something like this, theoretically, what you would have to do is come in here, take that and close that down, that little gap right there, just close that down by drawing, either moving it closer, the background letter a little bit closer, or just trying to close that down by drawing a little separate section right there. And that would eliminate those those little weird spaces. But other than that, I mean, that would be my recommendation. I think if we take a look at this at a small size, we can see that it maintains legibility even when it's tiny. And I don't know if we can say the same about this. Do you see what I'm saying? So those would be the inherent and immediate problems that I recognize immediately. So I'm not saying that this is your answer. I'm saying that's a consideration. You mentioned that you're going to consider further developments in your monogram. So I just wanted to kind of give you that for food for thought, so to speak. Okay, so I'm looking forward to seeing where you're going. Just keep my comments in mind while you're working further. You mentioned that you're still working on the idea of these designs, so you might change it around something else than what you have here. So yeah, definitely keep working. I recommend you do so because honestly, to be quite honest with you, I don't think these are working. This is definitely the wrong kind of configuration. It's just too confusing, asking the mind to kind of process too many things at the same time. And this one can almost be, the same thing can be said with this one as well. So think about it, and moving forward, let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Otherwise, you know, you feel, make the moves that you feel the most appropriate and hold the most potential. And I'll be glad to address any questions that happen to come up between now and your final iteration. But anyways, looking forward to seeing where this is going. Thanks very much.